I still don't know if he meant it. Those were Charlie's last words. They've been replaying in my head for weeks, over and over, like a song I never wanted to memorize. It's 2:13 a.m. again, and I'm sitting on the floor of our dark living room, knees pressed tightly to my chest. The carpet feels cold under my skin. The only light comes from the dim lamp in the corner that I forgot to turn off. On the table in front of me sits the thing I'm most afraid to touch, but can't let go of, the silver voice recorder. It's still playing. His breathing crackles through the tiny speaker. Slow, weak. Then his voice, raw and fading. Promise me you won't forget. And then the silence. The kind that doesn't just fill a room, it crawls into your bones. I pause it. My thumb hovers over the rewind button again, but my hands are trembling too much. There's a cup of tea sitting beside it, untouched, ice cold now. Outside, rain taps softly against the window, like it's trying to be let in. Forget what, Charlie? Your voice? Your mistake? Your secret? I press play again, even though I've heard it more than 50 times. This time, I notice something I didn't before, the way he inhales right before he speaks. Shaky. Almost scared. And suddenly this room feels too small to hold everything I'm feeling. But what was I not supposed to forget? And why does it still feel unfinished? If you've ever replayed someone's last words in your head, don't leave just yet. The morning after the funeral didn't feel like morning at all. The sky was bright, but nothing felt alive. Light poured through the curtains, not warm, just harsh, like a spotlight I never asked to stand under. I sat in Charlie's reading chair, the one with faded leather and a small tear near the armrest from when our dog was a puppy. His Bible was still there on the arm. I didn't move it. I couldn't. His glasses were resting on the windowsill, slightly crooked, exactly where he last left them. Dust floated in the sunlight like tiny ghosts drifting between us. Everything smelled like stale air and lavender from the flowers people brought but forgot to take home. Then my eyes went to the object I had been avoiding all morning, the voice recorder. Cold metal, scratched edges, fingerprints still on it. Mine. His. I picked it up. My thumb hovered over the play button. I told myself I wouldn't press it again, but I did. A soft click. Static. Then his laugh. That small breathy laugh he only made right before saying something serious. If you're hearing this, I guess I'm gone. I froze. The tea in my hand trembled, creating tiny ripples against the mug's ceramic edge. I wanted to throw it across the room. I wanted to hold it against my heart and never let it go. I wanted him to walk in from the hallway and tell me this was all some messed up joke. But the recording cut. Halfway. No explanation. No goodbye. Just half. And that's when I knew this wasn't over. But I had no idea how much deeper it would go. Some voices haunt us not because they're gone, but because they still have more to say. That afternoon, the house felt wrong. Too still. Too clean. Like it was holding its breath. I was folding Charlie's sweater, the gray one he wore on rainy mornings, when it happened. The fabric was still soft, but it didn't smell like him anymore. Just detergent and absence. I pressed it to my face anyway. Then ding. My phone lit up on the table. Unknown number. One message. You never heard the rest of his message. Check the recorder, but not at home. I just stared at it. For a full minute, I couldn't move. I couldn't even breathe right. My fingers went cold. The walls around me felt closer, like the entire house leaned in to listen. My eyes shifted to the voice recorder. It sat there, silent, still like it was waiting. I picked it up. My thumb pressed play. Static. Promise me you won't forget. And then something I hadn't noticed before. A A faint whisper behind his voice. Not him. Too soft. Too young. Like a child saying something. Or praying. I replayed it 3 times, holding my breath just to hear it clearly. The chandelier above me flickered once, then went still again. My heart started pounding in my throat. The air felt heavy, like the room was full of water, and I was drowning in it. I didn't put shoes on. I didn't lock the door. I just grabbed my coat, shoved the recorder in my pocket, and walked out into the cold. Because if someone else knew about Charlie's last words, I wasn't safe in that house anymore. And if he wasn't alone in that recording, then this story's just beginning. I didn't even remember driving there. One moment, I was on our front porch, heart pounding in my ears. The next, I was pushing open the heavy wooden doors of the old chapel on the edge of town, the one Charlie used to visit when he needed silence. The hinges groaned as I entered. Inside, the air was cool and smelled like dust, melted candle wax, and something older, like forgotten prayers. My footsteps echoed against the stone floor. No one was there. Just empty rows of pews and glass windows tinted with faded stories I didn't want to read. I sat in the second pew, the one Charlie always chose. My breath fogged in front of me. My pulse wouldn't calm down. I placed the recorder beside me. For a moment, I just stared at it. Then I pressed play. Static. A soft breath. Promise me you won't forget. Then a deeper inhale, like he was gathering courage. And then, tell her the truth. A whisper, too close to his voice, right beside him. My entire body froze. The recorder slipped from my fingers and clattered onto the wood. The sound crashed into the silence like thunder, and something inside my chest finally cracked. What truth? I whispered, but it came out broken. I buried my face in my hands. And I cried, the kind that shakes your shoulders, steals your breath, and feels like it might never stop. My tears hit the wooden floor, darkening little circles that disappeared as fast as they formed. I don't know how long I stayed like that. Minutes. Maybe hours. Grief wasn't time anymore, it was just weight. I picked up the recorder again with trembling hands and pressed it against my forehead like it could somehow answer me. Have you ever begged for answers from someone who isn't here to give them? Because that's exactly where I was sitting. If you've ever begged heaven for an answer that didn't come, stay with me. At some point, the tears stopped, but the shaking didn't. The chapel was quiet again, too quiet. My breathing echoed against the old stone walls. I wiped my face with my sleeve, but my skin still felt wet, raw. My palms were cold against the smooth wood of the pew. That's when I noticed it. Something was sitting beside me that hadn't been there before. A book. Not placed gently, almost as if it had slid from the pew behind me. Its cover was worn, edges frayed, pages slightly yellowed. It wasn't mine. I hadn't touched anything except the recorder. My stomach tightened. I reached for it with slow fingers. Inside, tucked between pages, was a folded piece of paper. My name written on the front. In his handwriting. Charlie's. I swear my heart stopped for a second. My hands trembled as I opened it. If you're reading this, I couldn't say it out loud. I was scared. Not of dying, but of leaving you with a lie. Please go to the old oak tree, the one near Grandpa's farm. You'll understand there. I read it again. And again. He knew he was running out of time. He knew something I didn't. And he didn't want to die keeping it. The air in the chapel felt heavier, almost pressing against my skin. My throat was dry, but my hands were sweating. I looked up at the ceiling, not for God, not for a sign, just because I didn't know where else to look. Why the oak tree, Charlie? I whispered into the empty room. No answer. Just the soft groan of the wooden beams, as if the building itself breathed with me. I folded the letter carefully and held it against my chest. Then I stood up, because whatever waited under that tree, I knew it would change everything. Some secrets only rise in silence, and tonight, I finally heard one. The sky was turning purple when I reached the farm. That in-between time. Not day, not night. The air was cool, smelling like grass and dirt and the faint trace of smoke from a neighbor's chimney. My shoes crunched against the gravel driveway. Everything was still except for the wind rustling through dry corn stalks in the distance. I walked toward the oak tree. The one from Charlie's letter. It stood alone, tall and old, its branches twisting across the darkening sky like veins. It looked exactly the way it did when we carved our initials into it years ago, except now. Something was different. The ground beneath it looked disturbed. Fresh soil, recently turned. My heartbeat picked up. I knelt down. My fingers brushed against the dirt, cold, damp, soft. I hesitated for a moment, just staring at my own shaking hands. Then I dug. Not deep, just enough for my fingers to hit something hard. Metal, edges sharp under my nails. A small tin box. My breath caught. I pulled it out. The latch was rusted, but it opened with a soft click. Inside, Polaroid photos, a ring I had never seen, and a folded letter. My fingers hovered over the letter first. I opened it slowly. Before I met you, I was engaged. She died, and I blamed myself. I never told you because I didn't want my past sorrow to haunt our joy. But when the doctors said I wouldn't make it, I couldn't die with that weight still hidden. I expected to feel anger, but I didn't. My heart didn't break. It softened. Not betrayal, just fear. Just someone trying to protect me from a storm he never healed from. And there under the photos was something else. A tiny memory card. The missing piece from the voice recorder. My breath caught in my chest. It felt like the world held still for a moment. The wind stopped. Even the leaves were silent. Do I press play, or let his last words stay unfinished forever? If love buried the truth to protect me, I had to dig to forgive it. I don't know how long I sat there under that oak tree. The sky had gone dark. The bugs had gone quiet. Even the wind had settled. I leaned back against the rough bark, the tin box beside me, the memory card clenched in my hand. And for the first time since Charlie died, my mind wasn't screaming. It was still. Not peaceful, just quiet. That's when the thoughts came. Not like a voice, not like some holy sign. Just truth, soft, painful, real. I learned that love isn't about how much someone tells you. It's about what they're terrified to lose. Charlie wasn't hiding love from me. He was protecting it in the only broken, human way he knew how. I learned that grief doesn't move in straight lines. It loops back, repeats, and speaks in echoes. Just because his body is gone doesn't mean his voice stopped living inside me. It shows up in empty rooms, cold cups of tea, and 2 a.m. silence. I learned that silence can be its own answer. Not everything ends with explanation. Some endings are just soft stops. And maybe that's okay. Maybe closure isn't a door closing. Maybe it's learning to live with it still open a little. I held the memory card to my chest. My hand was steady now. Charlie, I whispered, I'm ready to hear the rest. But even then, even with the truth right there in my hand, a question pulsed through my chest. Was I really ready for his final breath and final truth? If you've ever carried grief in your chest, I promise, what's next will lift you. I thought I would fall apart pressing play again, but I didn't. Morning light was barely touching the windows when I sat in Charlie's chair, the same place everything began. The fabric was cool against my skin. A new cup of tea sat on the table, steam rising slowly in the quiet room. The voice recorder felt heavier than it ever had before. I slid the memory card into its slot. My hands didn't shake this time. Click. A soft static. Then breathing. Then him. Promise me you won't forget that none of this was your fault. You were my miracle. And if you ever doubt it, sit by the oak tree. I'll be there. And then, silence. No more words. No more whispers. Just the final soft static, then nothing. I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, it did. But it didn't break me like before. The ache was still there, it probably always will be. But for the first time, it didn't feel like drowning. It felt like standing in the water, still breathing. I clicked the recorder off, set it beside his glasses on the windowsill. Outside, the sky was turning pale gold. Birds were starting to sing. Somewhere in the distance, a car engine hummed to life. The world kept going. I whispered into the air, maybe to him, maybe to no one. I will never forget. Not the pain, not the love, not the way he said my name. Then I sat back. I closed my eyes for a moment and let the quiet stay. Some goodbyes aren't endings. They're the beginning of hearing someone differently. If this story stayed with you, let it live by sharing, subscribing, and remembering someone you love.
Pain, truth, peace.